Hi there. In this video, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about your body's 5 main sources of fuel. Now, the first 3 you've probably thought about quite a bit, but the final 2, I'm guessing you haven't really considered all that much. Now, what are your body's 5 main sources of fuel? Well, the first one, or the first 3, are air, water, and food. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about these because you've no doubt considered them quite a bit. I'll just add a few extra little points which maybe you can consider. The first one with the air that we breathe. At night, you'll often find that it's a great idea for better sleep to leave a window open or a door to your bedroom, or if you don't really want to do that, have some indoor plants like spider plant, which can improve the quality of the air in the room. With water, we all know that the body is mostly made up of water. In fact, it goes from about 78% in babies down to about 60% in adult males. Now, if this is the case that we're mostly water, then really the quality of the water that we drink is critical. Now, if you think that the tap water in, say, a place like Melbourne is good quality, well, think again. Sure, it tastes good, but there's a lot of horrible things inside that water, things that are actually banned in places like Europe. For instance, the fluoride, there's chlorine, there's all sorts of other contaminants. And so it's really not high quality water. And if the body is mostly water, then perhaps it's worth your time to consider getting a filter at home. Now, of course, I don't want you to get paranoid. There'll be plenty of times when you're out and about and you'll just be forced to drink tap water or whatever it is. If you worry about this, then that will be far worse for you than actually the tap water itself. But in the environment which you can control, like your home, then I'd suggest that it's well worth your while to invest in a good filter. Now, with food, we all know that we should be eating, as much organic food as we can, as much live foods as we can. But I'd just like to add one little point to this. Often it will actually be a really good investment to pay more to get the higher quality foods. Now, we all know that organic foods tend to be quite expensive, but think of it like this. If you eat less healthy foods, if you eat more junk food, etc., then what happens? Well, your energy levels decline. And when your energy levels decline, then your output also declines. So if you're, say, working for yourself, then the amount you're going to get done in a day will diminish. So whilst you might save $10, $20 or so during the day on food, you're actually going to lose way more than that in the amount that you can produce. So you'll be losing money. And even if you work for someone else, then obviously you want to still perform at your best. If you work better, then you're much more likely to get that raise or promotion. And so again, it's really false economy to spend less on the quality of your food because, as I say, your body is a machine, right? So if it uses crappy fuel, then it won't function as well. So better to put in good fuel, you'll get a much better output. So actually, even though it costs more to pay for high quality food, it's a really sound investment. Okay, but let's move on to where it gets really interesting, and that's the 2 sources of fuel that you maybe don't consider as much. And the first one is actually qi, or energy. Now, your body is designed to actually take in from the universe multiple sources of qi energy. Now, that's why we have the chakras. We've got 7 chakras. They're all attuned to a slightly different energetic frequency. And the chakra is designed to draw in these energy frequencies into our body to nourish it and also to release any unwanted energies. Now, when everything's functioning properly, your body is happily able to do this. But when things start to go wrong, when the chakras get a little bit blocked, then your body becomes less receptive and less able to draw in this nourishing energy from the universe. Now, I will say that the chakras aren't the only parts of your body that can draw in energy. You've got minor chakras as well. In fact, you've got many more minor chakras than major chakras. And even your entire body can actually draw in energy. It's just that the chakras and the minor chakras have been optimized to draw in energy. Okay, so what happens then when these chakras, etc., get blocked? Well, as I said, we're less able to draw in the energy, and this becomes a problem because think of it a bit like maybe a rechargeable battery. When you buy that rechargeable battery, it can recharge, say, up to 99%. But after a while, maybe it can only start to recharge up to say 60%. And that's a bit like your body. You know, as more blocks kind of accumulate over the years, if you do nothing to clear them, then your body gets less and less capable of draining energy from the universe. In my Reiki courses, I often explain it a little bit like this. I say, imagine you've got a solar panel with maybe like 100 little grids on it, and when you get, you know, when it starts to malfunction, then these little grids become less receptive, unreceptive to the sunlight, and so they can't draw it in and store energy. And so that's a bit like your body. As you get little blocks, then that part of the body becomes less able to draw in these healing, nourishing energies from the universe, and you become like, say, that solar panel, that grid, which maybe it's got 100 little grids, and now only say 60 of them can actually draw in sunlight. So it's operating at 60% capacity, and as a result, it's much less effective. And if we bring that back to your body, then you're in a greatly weakened state. So what we really need to do then is learn to clear any energetic blocks that you have. Now, in a Reiki course, I'll teach things like working with the Reiki precepts, which is a great way to clear these energy blocks. But if you haven't done a course and you don't intend to do a course, then there are other ways which you can also clear these blocks. And I'll just give you two pretty basic ones now, which are very effective. And the first is to practice forgiveness. A lot of the times we have blocks inside us because there are things we are holding onto, things which we haven't let go of, things which we haven't forgiven. And each time we kind of hold a grudge, etc., or hold animosity or upset towards someone, then that part of our body where that animosity, etc., is stored becomes less receptive to the energies of the universe, and we're less able to then draw them in. As a result, we become like that solar panel, which is losing grids and becoming less effective. Another way to help clear these energetic blocks is to practice total responsibility for your life. If you accept and you can go, you know what, I will take responsibility for everything that comes into my life, the good and the bad, then you tend not to feel so irritated by the irritants. You know, if you're not taking total responsibility for your life, and someone comes into your life and does something you don't like, then you can get really mad at them, and it's hard not to be kind of mad at them. But if you say to yourself, you know what, in some way, you know, it's obviously unconscious, I don't understand how I've done it, but in some way we have kind of co-created this, or maybe you can even take more responsibility and say, you know what, I've attracted this personal situation into my life. Then once you take responsibility for it, you tend to be able to move through it much more quickly. But if you play the blame game, then you tend to get stuck, and the energy tends to get stuck in you, and as a result you're going to be blocked. So if you can learn to take more and more responsibility for your life, now I'm not saying I'm perfect at this, but you know, we can all practice getting better at it, and the more we take responsibility, then the more we'll be able to let things go and move on. Okay, so that's looking at the chi we draw in from the universe. What's the final form of fuel that we get for our body? Well, that actually comes in the form of the thoughts we have. Now, thoughts are actually energetic vibrations, and so in a sense, they're like food. Imagine you had a Kit Kat. If you ate a Kit Kat, then you're probably going to go, you know what, it gives you a bit of energy, but ultimately it's not too good for you, and your sort of energy reserves will actually decrease as a result of eating that Kit Kat, at least long term. But if you eat other foods, imagine like, you know, say a healthy organic avocado, that organic avocado will nourish you and give you more long-term sustained energy. Well, it's like that with thoughts. You think one thought, you think, say, an angry, upset thought, then it will have an immediate impact on your energetic system, whereas you think a loving thought and it'll have an immediate positive effect on your energy system. So every thought we have has a huge impact on the energy we have in our bodies. Okay, now where it gets tricky is that the thoughts we have are actually like an operating system. So they're really the filter through which we understand the world. And that means that if we're not careful, we're actually going to start using a kind of an operating system which is just the default operating system, this default operating system from society. And you know, if we want to experience the world as the rest of society experiences the world, then I guess this isn't a bad thing. But if we want to experience the world in a better way, then we will have to choose a different operating system, because otherwise the thoughts we think will color everything we see and experience. So what we really might consider doing is being more careful about the thoughts that we have in our mind. And then you go, well, how can I control the thoughts which go on in my mind? Well, one way is really to do with what we feed our mind. And so if we just feed it junk, you know, they say garbage in, garbage out. If we feed it junk, we're going to start thinking trashy things. You know, if you're reading trashy materials, if you're watching, you know, the news, if you're doing all these things, then of course your mind will be flooded with negative thoughts. And as a result, you operate under a negative operating system. But if you take care to feed your mind, you know, wholesome materials, and then as a result, it's going to have them in its operating system, and you'll start to think more positive thoughts. As a result, you'll actually have a lot more energy. And so one thing to consider too on this point is that often we think, well, you know, I need to eat food every day, of course, otherwise I'll starve, or, you know, if you don't eat it for long enough. But we seem to have this other mistaken idea that if you read a really good book, you know, you read The Power of Now or something, then, and you feel that you've understood some real wisdom from it. You think, well, I've read that, I've understood it, and now I'm kind of good for life. I don't have to read anymore. But the thing to consider is that thoughts and ideas also have a kind of an expiry date. They have like a shelf life. And you can be inspired by some idea, but it's only really going to have a deep impact on your thoughts and actions for a short duration. So just like when you eat a meal, you have to then still eat more meals afterwards. You can read a really good book, an inspiring book, but if you don't continue to nourish your mind with, you know, wholesome materials, you know, daily really, then your operating system, your mental operating system will start to just default back to society's operating system. And so if you want to operate at a higher level, as I say, you have to be really conscious of what you're feeding your mind. Okay, so they're just a few thoughts. As I said, with air, consider just doing simple things apart from just the deep breathing at night to get a much better rest and be invigorated during the day. Keep a window open, keep the door open, or fill your house with plants that really help increase the quality of the air, like spider plants. Drink better quality water, like filtered water. Oh, and a final tip on this, the showers we use, they also contain, you know, water with chlorine and etc. in it. And when you're having a hot shower, your skin is very open to these things, and it takes in a lot. So you might even consider a filter for your shower. It seems a little bit excessive, but actually it's quite a good idea. We said that the food you eat, you know, eating healthy food can actually be a good investment. So you pay more, but because your system has more energy, you produce more, which means you can actually make more. So it's a really good investment. We said with the chakras and the chi we draw in from the universe, that fourth source of fuel, we said that, you know, often our body can get blocked. So we need to start to do things to unblock it. And two ideas we had were forgiveness and taking total responsibility for your life. And then with thoughts, which are another form of energy in our system, we said, you know what, you really have to guard or take control of the kind of the ideas that get fed into your mind, because your mind is going to use all the thoughts and ideas that get kind of pumped into it during the day, and it's going to churn over them, and they will become the filter through which you see and experience the world. And so if you don't want to just experience the world like everyone else, then you actually have to take control of what goes into your mind. And if you feed it kind of wholesome, you know, inspiring materials, then that is the operating system it will start to use. And on this point, I'll just say the best time of the day to feed yourself kind of inspiring ideas is the morning, because then you'll use those ideas which you're fed in the morning all the way through the day. Okay, hope this video has given you a few ideas. Good luck testing them out, and I hope to see you around sometime soon.